Hi, this is Pat Bruff from Fink and Paris Insurance Agency. Welcome to our podcast, Local and Mighty, the podcast about Massachusetts personal and commercial insurance in plain English, mixed in with a little bit of fun. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of the Fink and Paris podcast, Local and Mighty. It's me, Pat Bruff, today, and I have with me Ryan Coopy. Coopy, right? I said it right?
You said it right.
Yep, all right, good. That's good. From our Florence office. You've been here long enough. I should know how to pronounce your last name.
I would think so. Maybe not the spelling, but pronouncing it, I would say, yeah.
Right. There's some P's and E's. Yeah, definitely. So thanks. First of all, I want to thank Ryan for joining me for today's podcast. I often have to convince folks to join in on the podcast. And sometimes people are like, yeah, I'll do it. Totally. No problem. Sometimes people are like, please go run away and hide so I don't have to do this. And Ryan was, not only did I have to convince him to do the podcast, we're doing this. There's a video so people can see us. So you were okay with that, right?
Well, luckily it was one of my favorite topics.
There you go.
Registering a vehicle, and
there you go. So that made it definitely a little bit easier for sure.
Alleviated it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I just, as we do with every start of our podcast, one of the things we do is we give our guests a few minutes to tell us who they are, how they got here. They could tell us as much or as little, as I often say, about who they are, just to give our customers, our people who are listening to the podcast and watching this video, a little sight of who you are. So take it away, Ryan.
Sure. Thanks, Pat. So my name is Ryan. I work out of the Florence office, Fink and Paris Florence office. I've been here since 2016. I am a native of Western Mass, so this is where I'm from.
Yep.
I actually grew up in Southampton. I live in East Hampton now. Graduated from Hampshire Regional High School in 2010. Sort of how I got into insurance. It's kind of an ongoing it's kind of not really a joke, but an ongoing theme of people in this industry is I did not mean to.
Yep.
Sort of right after high school, when I graduated, I was in the restaurant business for a couple of years, and it was 2012. I had an opportunity to start an insurance, and I was kind of looking for the Monday through Friday. Mm-hmm. So that was definitely a positive thing, Monday through Friday. So I started at an insurance office.
Yep.
And in 2014, I got licensed.
Nice.
And then, like I said, I started here in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of people, when, a friend, or I get the vibe that they think like insurance is not, that sounds bland. You work for an insurance office, but that's actually not my feelings at all. There's a lot of investigating and problem solving
and helping people
that goes into it. Helping people is most important, and helping them have protection if they have a loss.
Right.
That is very rewarding. So that's pretty much it. I'm a big fan of the outdoors, obviously not right now, but the warm weather.
Not a skier. Not a skier.
Snowboarded once, wasn't great. So
yeah.
But no, that's my story. So.
All right. Well, it's great again to have you. I really appreciate you being here. And as you mentioned, so this episode is going to be a little different, as I said. And for those of you who are actually watching us, hi. We're doing this over Zoom. Actually, our offices with COVID, our offices are technically open. We're not seeing customers in the building per se, and we have, I would say, a little more than half of the staff is still working from home, but the rest of the other half is working in the office. We're doing this via Zoom just because it'll be easier for us to show some of the things related to the topic, and so that's why we did this. So again, thank you very much, Ryan, for joining us today. If you're listening, I will make the plea for you to head over to our Facebook page, because this video will be there on Facebook, and we'll put it on our YouTube channel as well. So you ask, why are we shooting a video for this episode? And the simple answer is, as the title of the episode, it is, so you want to register a car in Massachusetts. We're recording this podcast in early of February of 2021, and we're fast approaching the 1 year mark on the COVID pandemic that has affected everyone all across the country. Despite the effects of COVID, people we're still seeing a lot of business. We're still seeing a lot of folks registering cars, trailers, boats, RVs, all of those things, motorcycles, and it's become clear early in the stages that the registry, the state in general, has changed the way that they're doing things. So you can't just go to the registry, right? I mean, you can't just head over to East Hampton or Chicopee or South Hadley or any of those locations. For a while, you couldn't go to anyone. It was just the Springfield location, and then they tweaked that to where you had to have an appointment to even come in. So we thought it would be a good idea because, again, we're still seeing a lot of folks. We're doing a lot of this stuff electronically, which is great, but we want folks to know what it is they need to do, especially folks from not from Massachusetts that are registering a car for the first time. So we just thought it would be a great idea to do this podcast this way. If you're buying a new car at a dealership, they typically will handle all of the paperwork for you. So typically, if you're buying a new car, or even a new to you car, you go to the dealership and you go through that whole process, and they say, "Okay, we're going to register the car for you," or that they are going to take care of that. So how does that normally happen, Ryan? When you are going to buy a new car at the dealership, let's say?
Okay, so most of the time, Pat, it's that they do handle, the transaction for you of the registration. The smaller dealerships, sometimes they'll have you be responsible for obtaining a registration and plates. But for the bigger dealerships, what they do is, first of all, before, this comes up a lot when we reach out, but we cannot release any information to the dealerships without speaking to our customer first. So we call the customer, we go over, coverages, if they're transferring plates, if they're getting new plates. This is actually a good time to touch on different coverage options. Do you need required coverages for your loan to satisfy that? Full collision and comprehensive is required if you're financing a vehicle. So once we go over everything, it's a very actually simple process. The dealership, assuming that they're in Massachusetts, licensed in Mass, they will send the RTA, which is the registration and title application, and all the supporting documents over to us, either fax or email. We certify it. The way we certify insurance in Massachusetts that you have active insurance is with a stamp. So we stamp it. Sometimes they'll need a binder to show proof of insurance if there is a loan. And then we send it back, and yes, they'll handle, taking care of the registration. Right. You'll leave with your plates on your vehicle. So that's kind of the easy way, and they charge you for that. I don't know, a lot of folks typically doc fees associated.
They're charging you to do that. So it should be, as I said, the document fees, as I mumble here for a minute. So that's, really the easiest way if you're going to register a car. If, however, you're doing a private sale, meaning if it's a sale between me and you, or there's it's just between the two of us, that's a little bit different because those forms need to be filled out. As I mentioned, Ryan works in personal lines, so he's very familiar with this process, which is thankfully why he agreed to do this, of registering vehicles in Massachusetts. And among other things that I do at Fink and Paris, I also do a lot of I help with the registry transactions. So one of the things that most of our customers know, but I found actually a handful weren't aware, is that we actually go to the registry for people. So there are a lot of transactions right now that you can do at the registry online. You can do those without having to come and see us or without having to go anywhere. But things like registering a vehicle, renewing the registration, transferring, those kind of things, we can actually take the paperwork for you to the registry. So you don't need to make an appointment. You just need to get us the paperwork, and we'll talk a little bit more about the getting the paperwork. But for our customers, we go there so you don't have to make an appointment, and it saves you time and a lot of hassle. So I'm sure, I know a lot of folks have been like, "You'll go, and I don't have to do anything."
Right, that was huge. Yeah, especially right now, definitely.
Yeah. So the first thing we need to do to have done is you need to have insurance on the vehicle, as Ryan already mentioned. Um, so before you buy a car, we suggest that you reach out to your insurance agent. We chuckle a little bit here because I know that I've taken the call. I'm sure you've heard this more than a few times, Ryan. Folks will say, "Just give me the same coverage. I just want the same coverage on whatever the vehicle is." And like you mentioned, the coverage that they had on their 1982 Forenza may not be the same coverage that they need for their 2021 Toyota Tacoma or whatever it is. Because, like you said, they meet comp collision. There's all kinds of requirements. So, one of the first forms you need to do, going back to a private sale, is there's a couple of forms that you need to have, and the first one is the RTA. So I am going to, for those of you who are watching the video, I'm going to attempt to share my screen and we're going to go through an RTA, which will, here we go, which I'm going to have Ryan, you're going to kind of go through this. And although it's 2 pages, it's really not as scary as it sounds.
No, it's definitely, the RTA form is a newer registry form. It is a little jumbled and intimidating, but that's mostly because it's the RMV1 and the RMV3 that were previous forms consolidated into one form. Mm-hmm. So on the RTA, we have Part A. If you're listening, we have that's the plate type, and you'll be assigned a plate number upon issuance of the registration. So you can see that the plate type, just for example, just a passenger normal is a PAN plate. Mm-hmm. You'll see in the next screen, which is also part of Part A, what transaction are you doing at the registry? In this case, we're doing register and title a vehicle. You can apply for a title only if you're not putting the vehicle on the road. Taking possession of a vehicle, the state wants you to title it at least within 10 days. So you have all the different options there for what transaction you're looking to complete. Mm-hmm. We'll go down to Part B, which is the vehicle information. So right on B1, that's going to be asking for the 17-digit VIN number. So that can be found on the front of the title of the vehicle you're taking possession of. Mm-hmm. Right next to it, we have the body style. This is just all the vehicle information, the information that you'll need for us to complete the form.
And we'll talk about the title in a few minutes here. We'll get into that. But like you said, a lot of this is pretty easy to find, right?
Right, exactly. So we're looking at if it is a passenger vehicle, is it commercial, is it a trailer, a camper? Then we look at what color is the vehicle. Year, make, model goes right there. Mm-hmm. There's actually, they have the trim too, which the level of trim, that kind of ties in. That was not on the previous form. That kind of ties into determining the vehicle's value. So LE, for example, that's limited edition.
Okay.
Or luxury edition, it could be. So there's the trim goes on there as well.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that actually before.
It was not on the RMV1 form. I know there's a standard edition, there's luxury edition. So that's on there now too. Then we have the transmission type. Is it an automatic? Is it a manual transmission? The number of cylinders, the passengers should always equal up to how many seatbelts you have in your vehicle, the doors, and then what the fuel type is.
Okay.
So then on here with the odometer, that's the current odometer reading of what the mileage is on the vehicle now when you're taking possession of it. So,
and that is something you have to get. So again, if I'm buying you're buying the car from me, you're going to have to say, "Hey, Pat, what's the current mileage on there?" So I can get this form filled out correctly, right?
Right, and we'll look at that too with the title, just how to fill it in.
Okay.
So then we have Part C, which is the title information. This is the current title information of the vehicle that you're acquiring. If it's new or used, a lot of the time, if it's brand new, it will be coming from a dealer. Mm-hmm. We have the title issue date of the previous of when the current owner had titled their vehicle.
Okay.
So then we look at the title number, which you can find on the title state, and then the title country.
Okay. And again, we're just for this particular podcast, we're talking about a vehicle from Massachusetts just to make it a little easier.
Right.
Big chunk of snow just fell off the roof, and I'm sure nobody heard that but me. And that's why
I heard it from down here, actually. Yeah, that happens quite a bit.
It's kind of funny.
Sounds like a stampede.
Right. Sorry. Here we go. So where were we? We're talking about the title type here.
Yep. We have the title type. In this case, we have selected clear. Clear, salvage, or if it goes through a salvage inspection, you're getting a reconstructed title. That's what you'll highlight there.
Okay.
Like we mentioned before, we generally, as your insurance agent, fill out the RTA for you. We don't, and the reason being is because there's a lot of, we just want to give you the information that you need for us to fill out the form. Just because if you attempt to on your own, it might be missing information, or it's just, as the insurance agent, we fill it out.
Yeah, especially if you are going to go to the registry yourself. You can definitely bring the form there. However, you have to get information from us. That stamp needs to be on there. And so if you don't want to end up, in the old days, you'd wait in line for an hour and then they would point out to you that, hey, this form's filled out wrong, or this is missing from the forms. So that's why it's great for us to look at it, because we can really help you avoid having those incidents where you're missing something.
Right, exactly. So then we're going to move on to section D. This is the owner one information. There can be two owners, so we'll get to that. But in this spot, the way to identify yourself essentially is, in this case on this form, we have the Mass ID. A lot of the times if people are coming from out of state, I'll use their social security number just until they convert over to Mass. In section D2, it asks for your name. You start with the last name, first, middle initial, your date of birth, your license number, which if it's a Mass license, which we did mention, we're presuming this is all Massachusetts right now. It does start with an S. So that's that right there. Your residential address, right below it, you'll see you can either check a box that says the same. If you don't have, if your mailing address differs, such as if you have a PO box, you'll fill that in there.
Okay.
And then it will ask for the expiration date of your driver's license and then your contact information.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And the, the contact information, this part right here, I think it's important to kind of note, because the registry, they are, they're using email. There are ways you can actually pay for whatever the transaction is via email, and they're sending, I don't know. I mean, are they sending stuff out? Are they sending out renewal notices or anything like that via email? Do you know, Ryan? At
this point, I do. For example, I just received my vehicle registration renewal in the mail.
Okay.
Yeah. At this point, it should still be coming in the mail.
Yeah.
Sometimes with the mail, it's slower, but it should still be coming to you in the mail within 60 days of your renewal. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah. But they are definitely taking more information from you to have ways to connect you. I'm sure at some point they'll be using that for something.
Right. We don't know down the road.
Yeah. Right.
So,
right.
So then the next section is owner two, if it's a joint ownership of a vehicle. So if it's not just one person that owns the vehicle, this person will be the second name on the title and registration.
Okay.
So it's all the same information that we just discussed as owner number one.
Right.
So then right below we have, this is if you're leasing a vehicle. So most of the time, or the dealer will fill all that out for you if you're leasing a car or truck.
Yeah.
So that's the first page.
Okay.
You go on to the second page, you'll see part F is the business owner information. So this is if you're registering your vehicle in the name of a business entity. So that's just the FID numbers, if you're a DBA doing business as, and then the addresses as well. So.
And again, if this isn't a business entity, there are lots of other things that go along with that. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a commercial plate. Could still be a private passenger plate, but in a business name. But there are definitely things that go along with it being a commercial entity as far as registration is concerned. So, all right, skipping down to G.
So part G is the garaging address where your vehicle sleeps at night. So a lot of the times it will be your home address. So that's where that information goes right there. That's important to be filled in.
How could that be different than your, like, who would list a different location? Like, what are some examples? Do you know of any examples that would be a different garaging than what the mailing is?
Well, I know that, so I mean, obviously, if you have a PO box, you can't garage.
Correct. There you go. So that was an easy one. Yeah.
So, also, there's been different times. It's just like I said, where your vehicle sleeps at night. So if you have a mailing address and then
I think you hit it right. The PO box is
the PO box
is the perfect example of they can't get the garaging or where it is just from the PO box. So that's why they have this, specific piece here.
Right. Right.
All right. So that's G, jumping down to H.
Yep. So we're on H. That's the lien holder information. So that's where the bank's name goes that you have your loan through. There is different codes. A lot of the time, like I said, we're filling this out. So if you don't know the code, you leave that blank. We actually have a pretty cool list of all the lien holder codes here. So that's very resourceful as well. So that's just the bank that the loan is through.
Yep. Okay. Next.
So this is I. This is section I. So a lot of this would be filled out by a licensed mass dealer. Just has their EIN, FID number, and they have to sign this. The licensed dealer does need to sign the RTA, which is when you're purchasing from a mass licensed dealer, they're really supposed to be filling out the RTA because they have to sign it.
And a lot of times, so again, if we're helping facilitate, meaning the dealership is doing that, they send it to us with all of that information, right? Kind of pre-filled. So if I'm selling my car to you in this particular instance, we wouldn't have to fill out any of that stuff right there because it's just me selling my car to you, right?
Right. We wouldn't fill out anything there, but if there is some kind of sales tax exemption, that's kind of the same section. Okay. If you look over to I3 and I4, if you look at I4, there's a claim exemption, such as if it's within a family, if it's a lot of people, if you didn't pay anything for it, if it was a gift, that's an exemption code. Even if you do pay for it and it's within an immediate family member, you're exempt from sales tax. So that's good to know as well. And then you do need a supplement form that we assist you in filling out. So.
Okay. All right. So jumping into section J.
Yep. So looks like section J, the purchase. This is going to be the purchase date. This is a little different than the previous form as well. Are you coming from out of state as the same owner? Just transferring to the new state.
Yep.
If you're a mass resident at the time of purchase, was sales tax previously paid? That will go along with, say you are coming from out of state and you had already paid sales tax in the other state, they would need proof of that. So, so that's that section. And
so that can be tricky sometimes, right?
Yeah, that can be situational as well. So it's, we're here to help with that. So.
All right. Next is section K.
So this is section K. This is our section. So like we said, this is what the insurance, if a dealer's sending this over to us, the RTA over to us, this is the information that we as the agent fill out. So first K1, we have the insurance company. Each company has their 3-digit code. In this case, this is Commerce Insurance. They have code 279. And then right here is when we fill in the effective date of your insurance policy and the policy change date, the date of registration that we're getting that done. In this case, self-insured is going to be no.
Most likely always no.
Yeah, 99% of the time, no. So, and then this is an important part, which is actually kind of interesting, Pat. Massachusetts is one of the states that requires you to obviously have insurance prior to registering a vehicle and they are not going to take your word for it. They want to see a stamp affixed there,
Yep.
showing proof that you have insurance. The reason I say that is because it's funny. My one of my best friends lives in another state, and she could just go register her vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of they have that trust of word of mouth that you're going to obtain insurance.
Yep.
But they don't in Massachusetts. No, they're not going to take your word. They want
No.
that stamp. They want to see that stamp before it goes through. If that stamp isn't there, it's not going through. So,
Yep.
So then we stamp, sign it, and then we go on to part L.
Well, I want to just jump back. So that, going back to how important that stamp is, I've seen more than a few folks at the registry in my time who have tried to fill out this form by themselves.
Right.
Tried to get all, they have the title. They think they're going to walk into the registry and they're going to just fill out this form and walk away. And the registry they're a no-go. If this stamp is not on there, you've wasted your time. So
that's why all of the time, like you said, Pat, you want to contact us when you're purchasing a new vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me just scroll down here just a little bit more. Okay.
Right. So then we have section L, which is just the seller information. So that's going to be the person's name on the front of the title that you're purchasing from. So seller name and seller address.
Okay.
Goes right there.
All right in here. Okay.
Yep.
Good.
And then last but not least, very important, section M is going to be the signature of the applicant. So if there's one owner, you only need one signature. If there's two owners, you need both. The first owner signs on the first line and dates, and the second owner signs on the second line and dates.
Yeah. So, John, I forgot to sign this. Q Public is signing here, and then puts the date over here. We won't get into that.
We get the gist of it. So.
Yeah, they get the gist. I'm not really great with drawing with a mouse anyway. So, and for those of you listening, I was drawing out John Q. Public as our person that's doing that. So that is it for the RTA. Again, it's 2 pages, but it's really not as much as we think. But it's important information. That's the only way you're going to get your vehicle registered. Right. So the next form that you're going to need is what's called the title. So if I am transferring ownership of a vehicle to somebody, so, Ryan's buying the car for me. He's buying this 2009 Chevy Cobalt. And in order for me to legally give ownership of the vehicle, this is the form I need, right?
Right. This is, the certificate of title, and we're presuming that this is a Massachusetts transaction. This is a Mass title we have shown here.
Yep.
Just going through the information that's on it, which all the information's on the RTA that we fill out from the title. So if you look, there's the title number will be in that box, the current owner's title number. They issue you a new title once we get that transaction through. Mm-hmm. The VIN number, the vehicle identification number, that's the 17-digit number.
Okay.
And then the date of issue is next when this title was issued. Then it goes to the year, the year, make, model,
all the basics,
body style, was it used or new at that time?
Mm-hmm.
All the stuff, all the basics, the vehicle information we went through on the RTA.
Yeah. Is all right on the front.
All right there. Right.
And so you need to, again, have that. And again, we're seeing the front of what a title looks like here in the state of Massachusetts. They're a little bit different from other states.
Right. They differ from state to state, but you have to, if the vehicle's titled, that shows the proof of ownership that they're able to transfer the ownership to you. So if we look here too, the mailing address is in the first spot. That's where they're mailing the title of the current owner. If they have a different residential address. Mm-hmm. So that's the front of the Mass title.
What about this lien information? So if this person had a technically, I mean, you don't really see that information on a title because, at least in Massachusetts, I think if the vehicle is got a lien on it, you don't actually have the title in your possession, right?
Right. So most and they're doing, a lot of the banks have electronic liens now. Whereas this looks like if the lien holder was listed, they need to sign off saying the lien was satisfied. But you're right, Pat. So the most of the time, the way they do it now is once you register the vehicle, that lien information on the RTA, the title goes to that bank, and once that loan is satisfied, they'll release the title to you to do what you wish with it. So
in the mail,
you own it outright.
Yeah,
so.
And it's always especially if you've owned a car for a little while and you've had a car paid off for a little while, that this form is like one of those forms you got to put somewhere where you're not going to lose it, right?
Right. I mean,
yeah, because it always comes time to sell that vehicle and you're like, oh no, I need this form. So what happens if I don't have this form?
So if you don't have the form, it can get tricky. But in this case, if it's a mass title, you don't have the form, you can order a duplicate online for $25.
Okay, perfect. So there's ways to get it back, if you will.
Right. Yep. So then if we look at this is the back of the title, which we should mention that in Massachusetts, you don't need a separate bill of sale because the sale price is right there on the back of that. So that's the back of the title acts as the bill of sale, the purchase and sale agreement.
Okay.
So the sale price goes right there. The printed name of you, the purchaser, goes there. The date of sale, you want to make sure the dates on the back match up. Date of sale and all the other dates below.
Okay.
So that's your street address. You want to put, where the title is going to be sent to.
Okay. So this is the person. So I'm selling the car to John Q. Public for the example in this particular thing.
So the purchaser, the person taking possession and purchasing the vehicle, that's who goes in that section.
Okay. All right. Perfect. And then,
so this is a little bit of a tricky one because so this is where the odometer goes. This is a very, very common misconception, I should say. So if that's the actual mileage, I think where the mistake happens, Pat, is so you write in the odometer reading, correct? You read the first line in box 1, I hereby certify to the best of my knowledge, and people check it. You don't want to check that box.
You're like, no.
No, I mean, it's not the complete end of the world, but we will need to get a notarized affidavit of correction in that case.
Yeah, I was going to get. Yep. Go ahead. I was going to go into that in a little bit. Well, let's go through here, but yeah.
Right. You don't want to check any boxes if that's the actual mileage. One of the boxes, the second box, hereby say the odometer is not the actual mileage. The first box you would check if the vehicle's exceeded its mechanical limits. If it doesn't have a 6-digit odometer reading on the vehicle, but most of the time do not check the box and always
Yeah, and in reality, you should really never.
You don't want
in reality, you should.
There's certain situations, but just don't check the box.
Okay. All right. So then the next little section here.
So then we have, that's where the seller is going to sign the title. So that's you, Pat, if you're selling the vehicle to me or John Public. Yep. You're gonna sign that over. That's how the ownership's transferred. You're gonna date that, and then right below, that person that we just filled in above is gonna sign. They're gonna sign their name, print it, and date.
So again, I know you're printing your name twice because you print the name up on top here as well. Yeah. So you're printing it there, and then you're printing it and you're signing it down below. And so at this point, I mean, this vehicle now is in my possession once those signatures are done, correct?
Right.
Yeah. And I do want to talk just for a minute about titles and the registry. So what happens is, so you kind of made that, we talked a little bit about that. Oh, what if they accidentally, put a check mark here, put a check mark there, or even worse, let's say they put my address here, versus, or they put the wrong address or even the wrong date over here. And a lot of people will be like, oh, I'll just white it out. Right.
Yeah. No.
How does that work out ever?
So the Registry of Motor Vehicles does not allow whiting out. They don't allow crossing off
nothing
on a title. A title really is, because you're transferring the ownership of the vehicle. A title really is a legal document. So they do not allow whiteout. They don't allow crossing out. So if there is an error made, I should mention, as long as it's not the purchaser's name, because in that case, that cannot be corrected.
Yeah.
A new title would have to be ordered, and a duplicate title. But in the case where you put, you check a box or you put the incorrect street address, that can be corrected with the notarized affidavit. So,
and who has to fill out that notarized affidavit? That's got to be done by
the seller.
The seller. Okay.
The seller. Yep.
So, and I can assure you that the registry there is zero tolerance for this. We've had folks try and just white out a number, like, so on the date 7/7/21, and I've had them try and white out the 7 and make it an 8. As soon as you put white, like if you did it with a pen, they might not notice that, but as soon as there's white out on that form, they reject it every single time.
Right. Yeah.
Every single time.
You definitely don't want to do that. I always tell people, because titles are so tedious, to kind of give me a call and I can assist them with filling it out correctly. And that's kind of the whole concept of this right now, part of it. So,
right. Yeah. And we're hoping that folks are taking a minute to come back. If you're listening to the podcast, we take a minute and watch the podcast or watch the video and kind of zoom through to this section right here so you can really see it. So, all right. So that's the top of this title. And in reality, on the back of the title for, basic transfers of information of vehicles, that's the only section that gets filled out, right?
Right. We fill the section that we just went over is a private sale from an individual. Okay. The section right below is where the dealer fills out with their dealer number and their mass license dealer number. That's where they go. They won't fill out the private sale section. They'll fill out the reassignment by the licensed dealer.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And again, it lists first, second, third reassignment, because sometimes dealers go from one dealership to another, I think, or something like that. And that's why there's that list down there. So that's it for forms, really. I mean, those are the two kind of main forms that you need whenever you're doing a basic registration from me to you, right?
In Massachusetts. Right.
In Massachusetts. So let's talk a little bit about, let's say I live in Vermont and now I'm trying to sell you the car. What would be different? And I don't have any more forms to share.
So, right. If we're coming from out of state, say you purchase a vehicle from out of state, it can be done. If that's the vehicle you want to purchase. So if that vehicle is titled, they'll sign the title over to you. You want it in Massachusetts, as we just looked at, the sale price goes right on the back of the title. That's not true in every state. So you're going to want to get a separate, the title shows the proof of ownership, and the bill of sale, it will be accompanied by that to show, the sale price. And, and we can go over what is required to be on a bill of sale, what information is required.
Yeah, we should touch on that because I think that's important.
Yeah, and it's sometimes also if you're buying an older vehicle that does not have a title, you'll need to get the current owner's registration to show proof of ownership, and then have that accompanied by a bill of sale as well. So
yeah, and the bill of sale, it has the basic information on there, right? It's like the type of car, the make, the model, the VIN.
Year, make, model, the 17-digit VIN, the sale price. Seller has to sign, buyer has to sign, obviously, with their addresses on there and the date.
Yeah, and I've noticed
sale price, obviously.
Yeah, the registry, and I don't know if that's relatively new or not, but the signatures has to be both the buyer and the seller. Was it always that way, or did you could just get it from the seller before?
I've been registering vehicles for almost a decade. To my knowledge, it's always been that.
Always been that way. Okay.
Both parties have to sign.
Perfect. Yeah, that's good. So that's for a vehicle from out of state as far as the bill of sale is concerned. And again, we're just talking about a straightforward, car that is, being sold between the two of us. And there are lots of different scenarios that happen, right, Ryan? I mean, you guys transfer plates. So why don't you, we have a couple minutes left. Why don't you just talk quickly about, like, what if I just wanted to transfer? So I'm buying a new vehicle, but I still need to register. I mean, you always have to register the vehicle, but you could transfer plates from one car to the next. Maybe you talk about Some folks go to the registry. Go to a dealership, and they are doing that. They're taking the plate off of one car and they're putting it on the new car. What is the time frame that they have before that paperwork is all done at the registry?
Well, just going back to what you previously, so you have to always title the vehicle. You don't always have to register it. If you want to be on the road legal,
okay,
you have to register. The vehicle does have to be registered.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're transferring plates, so are you like from a dealer or a private sale?
Let's call it a dealership. That might just be easier.
Okay, so the dealer,
yeah. The dealer is a little different, right? I mean, let's go back to private sale because that's what we're trying to talk about in general here. So let's do that. Let's just say it's a private sale. I'm buying a used car, and I have plates on the car that I have now, and I'm just going to put them on the other car and put the car in the driveway and not use it anymore.
Okay, yeah. So I'm glad that you brought that up because there is in Massachusetts, there's the 7-day transfer law, which there's a lot of, again, with the misconception. The 7-day transfer law only applies if you're losing possession of your current vehicle. So you can't just take your plates off and put it on without going through the registry and just attach them to the newly acquired vehicle and drive away. That's not road legal.
Interesting. Yep.
So transferring your plates, we would want to do if you did lose possession, like a lot of the times with dealerships, there's a trade-in. You have that 7-day transfer law that applies as long as you want to hold the documents in your vehicle, but not to get too far off. But with the private sales, you're going to want, if you did not lose possession of the vehicle, of your current vehicle, you're going to want to go through with the registration process and transfer the registration, which we can also assist with.
Okay.
So same thing, title, RTA, we'll put the plate information, and then we'll transfer the registration. Then you take the plates and attach them to the new vehicle and drive.
Okay. So, all right. So can't just simply, like you said, it's not legal to technically just take the plate off and throw it on there. And I'm going to give the car to my kid, the other car, but it's not legal to do that way.
No, and a lot of people, I mean, I don't blame them if you're not seeing this stuff every day. A lot of people think, the 7-day transfer law, that gives me 7 days to complete the registration. That's only true if you're losing possession of the vehicle.
Okay. That's a very good point. I'm
glad you brought that up.
Yeah. So, again, I want to just touch, again, we're our offices, we're technically open, but we're not seeing customers inside the building right now because of COVID. But we're able to do a lot of things online. We're able to get documents signed. We have a system called DocuSign, and I think there's another one that we have where you might be able to sign like the RTA, like you can get the customers to sign the RTA and those things. But if we're going to the registry for you, which again, we will do, we're doing that for all of our current customers or new customers. If you're bringing in business today, you might have to come in just to drop the paperwork off, right? Like the title and a check, so if we go to the registry for you, then we need a couple of things. We need all these forms that we just talked about, the RTA and the title. We need a check made out to Mass DOT, which is typically left blank, and then they fill in the amount when they get there. They also have an option to pay electronically. So we talked about the email section of the RTA. That's one of the places that is the place where they're going to email you and say your transaction is ready. It will be processed once you put in your credit card and make the payment. So there are currently if you wanted to do this on your own, you have to go to the registry website and you have to sign up to make an appointment to get in. Right now, the only place they're seeing customers in the building is Springfield. And I'm talking we're in Hampshire County, so I use Springfield as our gauge. Springfield is open. Chicopee is open, and it's used as a drop-off center. And actually, that's where we drop off our paperwork. So you could technically take this paperwork to the Chicopee registry. They have a drop-off section over there. You give it to them. It goes in. They have a drop box, and I think they call you or they email you. I don't know. I haven't been on the other end of that particular process, but I know in our process, when we drop it off within 2 to 4 days, sometimes sooner, rarely longer, we get a call saying, hey, your stuff's ready, and we go get them. So that's worked out pretty good. Ryan, our customers are pretty happy with that in general.
Yeah, not having to go to the registry, they're very happy, Pat. But
yeah,
we do understand there are a few of us still at the office, although our doors are locked.
Yep.
But we understand that some people don't have computers,
right?
They don't have access to electronics. So some things, and we make it as safe as possible. Of course,
yep.
Wearing our masks, we come out to you. You just have to call when you get here, and we understand that. We limit as much contact as we can, but we are still here. So.
Yeah, we can absolutely. And again, it should be if you're talking on the phone, the account managers should be able to walk you through a lot of this. And if you have to come and see us, it probably is no more than 5 minutes. I mean, really, it's here's making we'll bring out the print and you just sign it and you're good to go. So I think we made it, Ryan.
Yeah, that was bad. Painless, I would say.
I think so. I think that was pretty good.
Informative for everybody.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping. So at the end of all of our podcasts, one of the things that we like to do is a segment that I call "That Is Just Not True." It's the part of the episode that features one of the things that we hear from our customers, whether we hear it or see it or read it on the internet, and we just know that is just not true. So Ryan, you must hear a bunch of those things, right? I mean, we hear so many crazy things, right?
Right. No, and a lot of it's word of mouth. So a friend tells you this, you hear this. So it's there is a lot of things.
There definitely is. So today's "That's Just Not True" is I heard that if I have a blue 2020 Toyota Tacoma and my friend has a red 2020 Toyota Tacoma, we should be paying the exact same amount for the insurance, right? Sounds right. No, it's not true, right?
It's definitely not true.
It's definitely not.
I do hear that a lot.
Yeah, you do. So why isn't that true? What are some of the reasons that would explain why, if we have the same truck but a different, what if they're both the same color? Does that matter?
The color isn't going to make an impact anyway. I mean, I think
at all, right?
At all, ever. I think where that stemmed off of, Pat, is maybe there was a rumor that if you had a red vehicle, you were more likely to get pulled over and get a speeding ticket. But absolutely. As for insurance rating, no, it doesn't. It does not impact. But some things that do, it depends on what kind of coverage you carry. You said you have the same coverage. Where that vehicle is garaged, where it sleeps at night, is a huge rating factor.
Right.
How many miles you go a year. It's so multifaceted now with insurance rating that there's just no way to.
Maybe I'm a good driver. Maybe my friend is not such a good driver.
Exactly. Maybe. Surcharge points on your license. Right. Years you've been licensed.
There's how about the other thing is maybe I have 2 cars. So, and he only has 1. So maybe I get a discount, right? Because I have multiple cars.
Multi-car discount. Maybe you own a home and your friend does not have a property insurance policy to get the corresponding account credits. There's a lot. So we're happy to go over that. But there's just a lot that goes into it.
Definitely a lot of reasons to why your premiums will not be exactly the same. So thanks. So again, that answers that just explains why that's just not true. So again, I want to thank you all. Thank you all for watching. For those of you watching us here on either YouTube or Facebook, it's been great. Thank you so much, Ryan. It's been great. This has been fun. I think we're going to do this again, Ryan. I think you and I.
No, likewise, my pleasure. So
I think this has worked out really well.
This is a good one.
Yeah, for sure. And remember, if you're looking for, I made it almost all the way through without mumbling, and I almost did it. So if you're looking for insurance here in Massachusetts for your home, your auto, your commercial, your boat, any of those things, you can look us up at insuringyourway.com. If you're listening, we want you to stay safe, wash your hands, and practice social distancing. And remember, you can find us wherever you find your podcasts. And we hope you have a great day. And that's it. That's a wrap.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ryan. See you.
All right. See you, Pat. Bye.
Bye-bye.